bienvenidos a este nuevo capítulo de Estas en Familia. Soy Cristina.
And this is Israel.
Y estamos aquí listos para discutir otro tópico que está hot en nuestra mente.
And before we start, I just want to let you guys know that we family now, all right?
That's right. And because we're family now, vamos a discutir. ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre being lonely and feeling alone? Ok, en el capítulo de hoy vamos a estar viendo nuestras experiencias en la escuela, cómo hicimos amigos, aprender inglés, la la, cómo hacíamos las tareas sin nada de ayuda, this was the 90s, there was no Google back then, y cómo lidiábamos con nuestras emociones. Brace yourselves, aquí vamos. Bueno, ñaño, estábamos hablando en capítulos anteriores sobre cómo llegamos acá y el hecho de que fuimos a la escuela. De 10 años yo vine y estuve en 5º grado. ¿Tú llegaste?
When I was 7, and I can't remember, I think what grade was I in? I don't even know. Like second grade?
That would be like second grade. Yeah.
Second grade, maybe?
Okay.
Well, did you guys get held back?
Well, I got held back porque yo estaba en 6º y a mí me pusieron en 5º, pero
I can't remember for me, to be honest.
yo creo que tú estabas en 2º grado ahí en el Ecuador.
Probably.
Estabas en 2º grado. So, no sé si es que te pusieron mismo acá en 2º o estabas en 1º, pero
I think it was second grade.
yeah.
Did you guys like leave over there in the middle of the school year?
Yes, we came here on September.
Well, you came in September. I came in October.
Well, it was still like...
So that was the beginning of the
Yeah.
Like we had enough to like have our uniforms, had cuadernos, everything was set. Like we were into the school year. And then we came. So, sí, una de las cosas que no hemos discutido antes es que tú viniste un mes antes que nosotros.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So I think like most immigrant families, we didn't really have a plan as to like, okay, you know what, we're going to get going because we're trying to do something new. When we had to decide to come over to the United States, it was pretty much a decision that was just thrown upon us, I think. It wasn't like something that like I said, planned. Like most immigrant families, I think like they plan to come over here and they're like, okay, we're gonna come for a better life. I think we weren't like well off over in our country, but I think we came mostly because the death of our grandfather. So
yeah, as it was explained to us over the years, you know, es como los planes estaban ahí eventually, you know, para una eventualidad, un en el futuro type of situation, y de repente se dieron las cosas. Quizás nosotros en ese punto, en esa edad, no entendíamos que ya el proceso había empezado, porque ustedes saben que el proceso de inmigración se demora años y años y años, ¿no? Entonces quizás nosotros estábamos en ese proceso por muchos años, pero a nosotros se nos dio de un sopetazo, you know, it's like de la noche a la mañana, ¿saben qué? Se van a Estados Unidos. ¿Por qué? Porque el abuelo está enfermo y de la noche a la mañana, ¡pum!, ¿saben qué? El abuelo ha fallecido. Entonces vinimos nosotros, por eso, como dice Israel, vinimos al sepelio del abuelo.
To my understanding, it was a different time back then. So it was literally people pushing papers, like applications and all that thing, that took like years to process and all of that. So to my understanding, it was various years that our papers were getting pushed around and nothing came of it. But it wasn't until the death of our grandfather that they expedited the process. And then, you know, one day we were preparing to... get our school year going, and then they were like, nope, we're going to the United States. And it was a shock to us because we were like, especially me, I didn't know anything about like other countries, and we were like, okay, I didn't even know this guy.
Yes, yes. Y yo creo que esa es una de las cosas más duras para nosotros, ¿no? Y suena bien callous, si es que nos están escuchando nuestra familia, nuestros primos mayores, que sí conocieron al abuelo, pero nosotros no le conocíamos, nosotros no sabíamos quién era, sabíamos que existía porque le escribíamos cartas, a lo menos yo, porque ya estaba más grandecita, era como, escríbanle cartas before email. Y no había llamadas telefónicas, sino escríbanle cartas al abuelo y sabíamos que estaba en un país lejos, pero no sabíamos así que dónde era Estados Unidos o algún día estaremos allá, ¿no? Nunca.
I think people could relate to, like, when you're younger, you have like a parent or a family member that goes to another country, United States, Europe, whatever, and they're like, oh, ¿te acuerdas de esta persona? Es tu tío, es tu abuelo, y tienes que escribirle, tienes que tener una conexión con ellos, and you're like, but I don't even know the guy, like, how am I gonna write to somebody that I don't even know? Like, oh, te quiero, abuelito, espero que estés bien. And what else do you write? Like, I've never even met the guy.
Yeah, sí, no para decir era una cuestión forzada, ¿no? Pero sí era una cosa...
In a way, I think it was forced because you guys are forcing to communicate with someone that you have no connection with.
I think that happens to a lot of people. Like I said, a lot of immigrants that like their parents, they just like, you know what, we're having a hard time over here in our country. We're going to move to the United States. Well, I am going to move to the United States. And it's like 1 year passed, 2 years passed, 5 years passed, 10 years passed. And you have like a complete disconnection of, I don't know, maybe your wife, maybe your son, maybe your daughter. And now you have to have like a constant communication with people you don't even know after a while, you know?
It's like a forced relationship.
Yeah.
Sí, definitivamente. O sea, yo no digo forzado en el hecho de que ven acá, escribe la carta, porque así no, No en ese sentido de force, pero...
It's not like genuine in emotion.
Yeah, no era como, ay, mami, le voy a escribir al abuelito como se escribe al niñito Dios, ¿verdad? Porque en el Ecuador no le escribíamos a Santa, le escribíamos una carta al niñito Dios o a los Reyes Magos, ¿no? Pero sí era una cuestión de que no sabíamos quién era esta persona. Israel vino antes que nosotros y Israel llegó al sepelio de mi abuelito, él le vio. No sé si se acordará, pero él le vio. Mi hermana y yo venimos después. Nosotros llegamos en octubre y ya el sepelio había pasado, ya le habían enterrado a mi abuelito. Pero nosotros no llegamos para eso. Para eso llegó mi hermano y llegó mis papás. So, what he remembers from that, I don't know. Like, ¿qué te acuerdas tú de cuando llegaste acá?
I really don't remember much, to be honest. Like I said, I had like a real disconnect from the whole family because obviously I'm this young person coming in, and pretty much everybody that I met, I didn't know before. And they're like, okay, well, this is your cousin. Hi, stranger, you know. This is your aunt. I'm like, hey, aunt that I never met before. So it was kind of like a big shock for me because it's like, I didn't even know this part of the family. How come you guys been hiding all this time?
Absolutamente, yo sí creo. Y es la primera vez que me pongo a pensar en esto, ¿ve? Dada la circunstancia que cuando nosotros llegamos, mi hermana, mis primos y yo. O sea, nosotros vinimos en guango, ¿ves? Y para nosotros venir era como, oh, qué chévere, qué interesante subirse en un avión por primera vez. O sea, todas esas experiencias te calan, ¿no? Se quedan contigo pero tú las tuviste que vivir solo, porque tú viniste solo con mamá y papá, y cuando ellos llegaron era como más la cuestión de que venían ellos para enterrarle al abuelito, ¿no? Entonces tú, en realidad que viviste ese espacio, ese mes, así como by yourself. Like, I never even thought about that. Like, I thought about my own experience coming, but not necessarily how you managed that. And it was a whole month before Carmen and I came. So,
yeah, wow. And the cousins that he met here at that time were Victor and Georgie, right?
To be honest, I can't remember who was around.
Yeah.
Like, I have very vague memories of coming and actually meeting people.
Well, could that be like a suppression on your part, like a trauma suppression type thing?
Maybe.
Because I'm thinking about it, because the only other cousins that are older than you are the ones that don't really speak Spanish. So in that case, you really would be alone, because there would be nobody your age around the time that you came.
That's very true. I never really thought about it, like coming into a new country, and the only family that I had was either grown-ups or cousins that didn't speak Spanish. So I'm like, I guess I really am alone in this world.
Yeah. So, para hacerles el picture así, ¿no? Nosotros llegamos a vivir en Irvington, ¿no? Y Irvington es una ciudad en el estado de Nueva Jersey, que está bastante cerca a la ciudad de Newark, donde está el aeropuerto principal acá. Y pues nos llegamos a vivir allá, gracias a Dios. Teníamos un lugar donde llegar, no como muchas otras familias que llegan y están a la voluntad de Dios. Ese no fue nuestro caso. Nosotros llegamos y teníamos, como dice Israel, un bunch of family. Teníamos todos los hermanos de mi papá que vivían acá en Estados Unidos. Y llegamos a una casa en la cual, vuelvo y repito, highly blessed to the fact that we had a place to come and stay, donde vivían como un apartment complex, donde vivía mi abuelita, donde vivían mis tíos, y todos como que tenían su propio little space, ¿no? Y nosotros obviamente veníamos como a añadirnos a ese espacio. Y se puso tight, pero veníamos a añadirnos a ese espacio, ¿no? En un departamento vivía mi abuelita, en el otro departamento vivían mis tíos, en el otro departamento vivían otros tíos, y así sucesivamente. Entonces nosotros venimos a ese espacio en la ciudad de Irvington. Ahora, si es que ustedes dicen así de, cachas, vienes del Ecuador y dices, ay, me voy a la Johnny, vivir a Estados Unidos, todos piensan así como, white picket fence, y, like what you normally see on TV, y eso, ¿no? De lo que veíamos en la televisión, ¿no? Y llegamos y fue así como la...
It was a big culture shock because it was like taking us out of our element. It wasn't what we really thought it'd be. Like, I don't know, for you, for me, it was pretty much like Home Alone type of thing, where you just like go in there and it's like white families and they're all friendly and whatnot. And then what we came to in Irvington was like completely different. It was just... Oh my God!
That was around the time there were like a lot of drugs, gangs.
Yes.
It was like hide your wife, hide your dog, hide your daughter. Like it was like close the door, that type of thing. It was
like hide your kids, hide your wife type of the situation. Because Irvington wasn't. It's still not the best of places right now. It hasn't changed much. But our grandfather, he actually he was an immigrant also, but he picked Irvington because at the time he said, what my grandmother had told us, that our grandfather had picked that place because it was predominantly Jewish community, I think.
You had a conversation that I did not have.
Yeah, something like that. It was Polish and Jewish people.
Yeah, so
at
so
the
it was
time, yeah.
It was mainly a white neighborhood where, from what I've been told, they were like, if you wore sneakers around, you were like had what's this called, burglary tools. Like people would stop you and be like, "What the hell are you doing with sneakers, man?" So it had drastically changed by the time that we got there. It's like the drug epidemic kind of hit. So coming from Ecuador, where it was more calm and everybody knew you and everybody would say hi to you, you come to this place where it's mostly, what would I say, low income type of families. And you were immediately exposed to bad things. Like I remember like walking out into the front of the house and I see like little vials of I don't know what
we didn't know what it was then.
I don't know if it was cocaine or whatnot, but they were everywhere.
Yes.
And we were like pick them up and be like, "Hey, what's this, Mom?" They're like,
"Suelta."
Yeah, toss that shit out. We didn't know any better.
I have a picture of that house in Irvington,
Yeah, esa es.
And this is most recent. This is 2020.
So if you just focus on the house, it doesn't look like a bad house. It could actually be like a house that you could actually find like on New York, like with a stoop and type of situation. But then you like zoom out into the neighborhood and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Like,
pero ahorita ves que hay casas así de nueva construcción al un lado de la casa. Eso no había antes. Antes era súper botadazo, así como el building ahí donde los árboles están overgrown. Y no not to take anything away, you know, si una vez que tú pasabas el umbral de la puerta, ve, ahora está todo eso verde, que they knocked down the buildings, pero todos esos buildings eran buildings abandonados y you know, está cambiando. Ahora yo sé que en esa área se han mudado, irónicamente, gente ecuatoriana, bastante gente ecuatoriana, gente
Really?
mexicana, que estaba yo buscando como, así como tú te pones a buscar trabajos random, así de, ay, ¿qué podré ser en el futuro? Cuando ya tienes un trabajo y estás tratando de ver algo más, ¿no? Y hay bastante necesidad para bilingual teachers ahí arriba.
Really?
Porque la comunidad, de cuando nosotros llegamos ahora, la comunidad es súper, súper grande por los ecuatorianos y los mexicanos que se han mudado allá, ¿no? Irónicamente, cuando nosotros llegamos, éramos como un lunarcito de latinidad en un mundo afroamericano. Todos eran afroamericanos. Y ahora, yo sé que quizás, don't cancel me, people, you know, solamente estoy yendo por lo que en
we're going by the facts, people.
en algún momento, se nos enseñó erróneamente, ¿no? Que tú dices, oye, sí, si son morenos, usted tiene que cuidarse. Ese moreno le puede hacer esto. Cuidado.
Those are not facts.
Those are not facts, okay. Pero el hecho fue que sí
Fake news.
que se nos enseñaba, no a ser racista, pero el pensar de las personas alrededor de nosotros estaba skewed, estaba wrong, ¿no? Tomó bastante tiempo como para nosotros darnos cuenta de que that's not true, de que eventualmente pudimos hacer nuestras propias decisiones y aprender sobre la cultura en la cual nosotros estábamos allegándonos, pero sí fue un tremendo shock cuando nosotros llegamos ahí. Y más yéndonos a la escuela, ¿no? Así como, perdón, Israel llegó en septiembre, nosotros llegamos en octubre y no fue sino hasta que nosotros llegamos que nos inscribieron en la escuela.
Did you guys feel alone in that neighborhood too? Like when you guys came? Like not, I know you guys felt alone with family. That's one aspect of it. But did you guys feel alone in that community?
I think we did because we came from a place where we had the freedom of going out and actually having our friends to go out and play. And our parents had the peace of mind of like, oh, yeah, they're in this place and, you know, by this time they're going to come back. But over there, it's like drugs are rampant in the street, you know.
We were not allowed to leave the house.
We were not allowed to leave the house. And our parents,
unless we were walking to school.
And our parents did not want us out.
No, nosotros, tú ves la parte de afuera del building, pero nosotros si veíamos la parte de afuera del building era porque estábamos yéndonos a la escuela o regresando de la escuela o yéndonos al mercado y that's it. No era una cosa de que voy afuerita a jugar ahí en el mini patio, porque como dice el Israel, o sea, habían todos estos like mini vials de lo que podía ser sustancias peligrosas que no, nuestros papás estaban seguros que no querían que nosotros estemos tocando ni viendo. Y como dice Israel, nosotros veníamos de Alausí, que antes de venir a Estados Unidos, nosotros vivimos mucho tiempo en Quito, que es la capital, ¿no? Pero antes de venir acá a Estados Unidos, vivimos un año en Alausí. Y en Alausí es un pueblo súper chiquito, hermoso, bonito, you know, surrounded by mountains, todo chévere, donde todos conocen a todos. Y vivíamos en el departamento donde tú salías, caminabas, unos 2 minutos y estabas en un tipo parque, ¿no? Entonces tú ibas ahí, jugabas. En la otra dirección caminabas tipo 5 minutos y estabas en otro parque. Entonces mi mamá podía ver de la ventana y nos veía o bien en un parque o bien en el otro parque, ¿no? Entonces nosotros decíamos, mamá, me voy a jugar. Salíamos y nos íbamos o bien a la plazuela, que es un lugarcito de cemento para jugar, o bien al parque que tenía más like shrubs and stuff. Pero teníamos un lugar a donde salir y like desfogar las energías, patear la pelota, subirnos en los columpios, hacer todo este tipo de cosas, ¿no? Y de repente venir acá y asegurarse que tú tenías que estar en el departamento y no salir a ningún lado porque no había parques nearby de aquí, de donde nosotros vivíamos, no había parques nearby. No así como de donde nosotros venimos, sino si había, pero había que caminar un buen. Y no era un neighborhood donde tú querías caminar un buen. O sea, y sí, o sea, para mí ya tener un physical activity era solamente ya en la escuela, cuando teníamos gym. Porque no había chance de salir a hacer nada por ahí alrededor.
No, it was very difficult that our parents felt the need to take us out of that environment. And I remember our parents not waiting that long and taking us out of that place and moving us to Newark, where Newark is not the best place either, but it was definitely better than Irvington. And I remember we left Irvington and our cousins stayed behind in Irvington in that particular house. And it's like we detached ourselves from that family. So I don't feel like we're close to that particular side of the family because I guess our parents wanted better for us, better opportunities. And that's something that I kind of regret not having a connection with that side of the family. We were never really close.
I think que no ha sido, o sea, sí querían salir de ahí porque ahí al frente donde salió, ¿no? Justo al frente de la casa le habían asaltado a mi papá. Entonces, ponte, nosotros llegamos en octubre, ¿qué sería? Por ahí por marzo le asaltan a mi papá y se le acercaba un tipo a quererle vender algo, pum, le asalta, le muerde a mi papá, todavía tiene la seña en la tetilla, lo que le había mordido, y mi papá ha estado silbando, así. I guess that's our doorbell in Ecuador, you know. It's like my dad has specific signature whistle, you know. I don't know.
That's all the brothers.
Yeah. Eso, nosotros, mi papá silbaba y nosotros sabíamos que era mi papá y qué quería decir con ese silbo. Y mi papá ha estado silbando y como el building es grande, nadie se fijó, nadie se dio cuenta. By the time my dad came in, ya estaba todo lastimado, tuvieron que llevarle a la clínica, que le pongan un tetanus shot. O sea, fue the works. Esa experiencia, mi papá dice, no way, no how. Tengo hijas mujeres, el horario de trabajo de mi papá era uno, el de mi mamá era otro, y dice, no, esto no es para nosotros, nos vamos de acá. Y con ayuda de algunos conocidos, empiezan a buscar, como dice Israel, salir de Irvington y terminamos viviendo en Newark, ¿no? Lo que ahora se conoce como Down Neck. Ahora, Down Neck es posiblemente el área que estaba mejorcito, a diferencia de las otras áreas de Newark, nosotros nos mudamos para Down Neck. Y ahí vivimos la mayor parte de nuestra adolescencia hasta que nos terminamos mudando. Pero Newark a nosotros nos formó, sí o sí.
Yeah, it made us to what we are now, I suppose. And different people, different immigrant families that have moved down there, they can pretty much say the same thing. That our first generation that are proud to be from Down Neck, that, you know, it kind of like shaped them to who they are right now. The different experiences that they had. And back then, it was a different time. I keep on saying the same thing. It was a different time because it was. It was. Back then, it was something that where you were the first Ecuadorian families down there. You were like pretty much paving the stones for everybody else that came. Now, if you go down there, it's like it's Ecuadorian Central, little Ecuador down there.
Los restaurantes, las tiendas, todo. Pero antes, chuta madre, tenías que hacerte piruetas para encontrar algo que sea ecuatoriano.
And I think, I don't know about you, but I felt like we had to represent our country the right way.
Our community, yeah, porque yo no sé si tú te acuerdas o yo no sé si tú fuiste expuesto al hecho de que cuando nosotros nos fuimos a buscar quién nos rente en Down Neck, la comunidad era en ese entonces 100% portuguesa,
Predominantly, ¿no? Portuguese and Brazilian.
No, antes no.
No?
Antes era portuguesa,
Yeah,
portuguesa.
you're right,
Fale
you're
su portugués. Tú estabas buscando un departamento, buscabas en el uso americano. O sea, that was strictly Portuguese communities.
I think when we went, it was predominantly Portuguese, and then the Brazilians were
Started moving in. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's when we moved out. Pero cuando como había todas las casitas eran de gente portuguesa, trabajadoras, o sea, lo que sea de cada quien. Decían, tú quieres que alguien te haga bien el trabajo, consíguete una persona portuguesa.
Yep.
Tú quieres el trabajo bien hecho, consíguete una persona portuguesa.
I never met no Portuguese person that's
that was
lazy.
Lazy. Nope.
I give that to them.
Entonces, y si es que tú eras un ecuatoriano que trabajaba duro, que trabajaba bien y te metías a trabajar con un portugués, you were made. Okay, entonces el hecho de que nosotros estábamos tratando de buscar departamentos por ahí abajo ya era así como moving on up, porque nosotros, mis papás querían algo mejor para nosotros. El chance era que la gran parte de la comunidad ecuatorianos que habían venido antes eran ecuatorianos solteros, eran ecuatorianos varones solteros que venían, trabajaban y el fin de semana se daban sus traguitos, entonces no tenían la mejor reputación. Entonces decían, no son ecuatorianos, pase al lugar, decían, ya está rentado. Entonces, they turned us away peor que freaking...
Like we were Jesus.
Yeah, loco. No hay posada.
We were like going from place to place, like we ended up in the major.
Y donde terminamos estamos bien. O sea, shout out to doña Herminia. Hubo una familia que nos vio a nosotros. ¿Cómo nos verían así, no? Tipo, my God, pobrecitos, mírales a estos recién llegaditos. Y me acuerdo que la señora tenía 2 hijas mayores y un hijo varón chiquito. Sí, igualito que nosotros. Entonces, sería que la señora se vio reflejada en nosotros como familia inmigrante y eso nos rentó ese departamento. Y de ahí empezamos, o sea, de ahí empezamos viviendo en Down Neck y viviendo ya las experiencias que era vivir en esta comunidad donde ya podíamos salir a jugar al patio, donde y eso era bastante. O ya podíamos jugar porque ellos tenían como una mini terracita, ya podíamos salir por lo menos a coger el sol en la terraza. Porque en Irvington, it was like, había un patio, pero no necesariamente íbamos ahí atrás al patio. No me acuerdo por qué, pero no íbamos.
No, it's because there were rats back there. There were all types of bugs.
Yeah, I don't remember why we never went back there.
It was nasty.
¿Sabes qué? Lo que pasa es que nosotros llegamos en octubre y ya se hizo frío. Y nos fuimos en junio. Entonces no tuvimos no creo que tuvimos el tiempo. Pero porque de ahí sí volvíamos cuando hacían barbecues and that, we used to go back. Y la abuelita tenía ahí un like mini garden. So we went there. Pero cuando nosotros vivíamos en Irvington nunca fuimos porque estaba frío. Vinimos justo en la temporada de frío. Y esa era otra cosa. O sea,
¿el frío?
Ahorita la gente se asusta de va a nevar 16 pulgadas. Bitch, like, la nieve nos llegaba a la cintura, loco.
Again, it was a different time.
I mean, but you guys were also smaller, so.
No! I remember watching the news, and they were like, da na 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 na, the blizzard of '93, da na 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 na.
Oh, you guys came at that blizzard.
Yes. Óyeme, esa era nieve. Y es que como que you were little then. ¿Sabes que yo he crecido como 3 inches desde que yo llegué? Hello.
No,
Yeah.
I wanted to say something about, like, since you're talking about being lonely, you guys have, like, this constant theme from the moment that you arrive to this point where you brought us now, which is in Down Neck. You guys, the only people that you guys have is your own family. You guys are surrounded by all these other people, but you guys still have this sense of being alone within that community. Like, you guys came to a new country. You guys only had yourselves. So you guys didn't know anybody else, so you guys felt alone in that moment. You guys moved to Irvington, you guys felt alone because the community, you weren't part of that community. You moved to Down Neck, you guys are still your own little unit, but you guys aren't really part of that community. So it's like a constant theme as an immigrant family coming to this new country that I'm pretty sure a lot of people resonate with because, they go through similar experiences.
Again, it was a different time for us. When we came, there wasn't a lot of Ecuadorian families that we could assimilate with. We just had us.
Yeah. Es que tampoco había no había así como, oh, ve, el vecino mexicano de ahí atrás es ta. O la vecina puertorriqueña de acá, ta. O sea, no había gente latina así como para nosotros poder llevarnos, ¿no? Para decir, oh, mi amigo fulano, mi amigo sultano. Quizás esas experiencias empezaron a hacerse más fuertes en la escuela. Ponte en la escuela, en Irvington no había nadie. En Irvington llegamos allá y, oye, yo siempre voy a decir esto. Si me está escuchando la Miss Gómez, se llamaba la profesora de ESL de Irvington. I hate your guts. All right? I hate your guts. Tú eres una de las razones por las cuales I chose to teach, and I chose to teach exactly the opposite way you did. So I know que las reformas educativas en ese entonces eran diferentes, pero she made sure not to speak Spanish. She spoke Spanish. I know she spoke Spanish porque cuando mis papás fueron a registrarnos, yo me acuerdo que ella le habló en español a mi papá. Le habló en español, le explicó el proceso. Dice, oh, María va a estar yo sé que estaba en sexto, pero tiene 10 años, va a quinto, ta. Le explicó toda esa vaina en español. Oye, mi papá se fue, and he was like, hi, nice to meet you. Let me take you to your classroom. Y yo, ¿qué, what? Esa man nunca más volvió a hablar en español. Nunca más volvió a hablar en español. Ella hablaba español, pero se aseguraba que nunca hablaba español alrededor de nosotros. Talk about feeling alone. You know this witch speaks Spanish. And there are some days where you just like came with all of the emotions on you. And all you need is a word of reassurance.
Yeah, I think the ESL teachers weren't the best when we got here to United States. I think they weren't really prepared to deal with immigrant families. I remember also like being placed in certain classes, and I'd be like, but no entiendo nada. And they'd be like, hitting a subject, and I'm like, pues me voy a poner a dibujar. So they were like, no, you can't draw over here. I'm like, but no te gusta mi Batman.
So why do you think teachers were like that, though?
Because
they were not prepared.
They were not ready.
They were not ready. Ahora, con todo el influx de gente hispana, never mind hispanos, con gente inmigrante que está viniendo gente de todo el mundo, está viniendo gente de Haití, está viniendo gente de Afganistán, gente de Siria, gente de todo el mundo, y lo sé yo porque los he tenido en mi aula.
I would hope that the colleges are pushing different type of curriculums where they're telling them like it's okay to speak Spanish, it's okay to have a connection. Before it was just like, nope, you gotta push
Assimilate. That was a curriculum back then. I've actually looked into it because I'm like, this witch. Well, maybe she wasn't so much of a witch, but she was trying to follow this curriculum where assimilation was the key. Assimilation. Yes, it was like you need to learn.
She was just doing her job.
Listen, we left Irvington and we went into Newark where...
And it was different.
And it was different because we had Mrs. Ruella. If you're listening, I love you. Okay?
Miss Ruella, we made it.
Yeah, we did. Miss Ruella, and I kid you not, Miss Ruella had like a handful of our friends, and all of us, we're all decent human beings with successful jobs and careers. Think about it.
Miss Ruella, look at us now. We made it.
Y esa era una ESL teacher, pero la diferencia era que ella no hablaba español. Esa man era portuguesa, right? But she made it her job to sit there and, el portugués y el español son casi similares, pero ella se aseguraba de decirnos una palabra. Me gusta, María, me gusta tu trabajo. No podía haber sido perfecto español, pero she made sure to make us feel like, at least for me, I feel like she made me feel seen. She made me feel like a person. She made me feel respected as a human being.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot. Like, I worked my ass off for that lady. Yeah. I did.
I agree. Coming into the schools, we experienced the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think she was a very good part of the good. And I think you and I had different experiences with the ugly. She wasn't in Hawkins, right?
Yeah.
So in Hawkins, I had like a terrible experience with Mr. Martinez.
Oh, so did I.
Which, by the way, he's still alive. And if I see you in Elizabeth, I'll probably... let me keep my mouth shut. I'm going to catch a case right now.
Listen, he actually ran into me at Kane because I used to go to Kane once in a while. I used to go to the gym, and he actually was in the gym, and he looked at me. He was like, Maria, ¿te acuerdas de mí? And I was like, yeah, I remember you. So I've seen him. Ya estaba viejito para cuando yo le vi. Esto era years ago. So I don't know if he's still going to the gym, but I've seen him.
I think I seen him walking around the street. I was like, oh, Lord. Jesus, take the wheel.
But do you think that these teachers are instrumental in kind of helping, well, kids mainly, because obviously they're the first point of contact with kids, kind of finding like a connection to this country?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nosotros como estudiantes pasamos más tiempo con estos profesores que con nuestros padres. El hecho de que mi mamá, mi papá tenían trabajos que les mantenían lejos de la casa, o sea, los profesores para nosotros eran todos. Cuando dicen que los profesores son tus segundos padres, eso es verdad. Tus profesores son tus segundos padres. Ahora, esos padres pueden ser unos padres de mierda o pueden ser esos padres que te son the wind beneath your wings and they lift you up and they take you to higher places, you know?
They guide you and shape you to who you are in the future. And like how we speak now about Miss Ruella and how they shaped us into the future, you know, we're always going to remember her and her effort into teaching us. And we're also going to remember the bad and how much they gave us anxiety, you know?
Absolutely. Mr. Martinez tenía su he was the only thing that united us to a bilingual education of sorts. So Irvington didn't have bilingual education. Newark did. So Newark had the bilingual education, but only pushing matemáticas con los niños que hablaban portugués y con los niños que hablaban español, ¿no? Entonces, Mr. Martínez era nuestro profesor de matemáticas, y matemáticas siempre era mi fuerte. Entonces, yo no sufría con Mr. Martínez. Yo, a veces se le volaba la peluca, pero it was just like,
that guy needed some serious anger management.
Oh, yes. Eso sí. Es que era, o sea, ahora que yo soy profesora, yo digo, chuta madre, o sea, yo me acuerdo un día que el señor dice, se vira, ¿no? Bravísimo, porque había un muchacho de la República Dominicana que había llegado, y te digo, te ponen en el grado basado en tu edad. Ese pelado no había ido a la escuela, jamás, en la República Dominicana, y estaba en 7th grade, right? Y la matemática era como 1 más 1 es 5, porque ese man no daba pie con bola, no porque era bruto, era porque nunca había ido a la escuela. Y Mr. Martínez tenía que cubrir un currículum, tenía que enseñar un freaking pre-algebra at that point, y no había manera de enseñarle pre-algebra si no sabía lo básico. Y ese man dice, ¡ah, María! Tú quieres ser profesora cuando seas grande. Siéntate con que yo ya no tengo paciencia. O sea, he used to blow his lead a hell of a lot. A lot. Pero era porque, you know, los profesores, y ahora, vuelvo y repito, ahora que soy profesora, yo veo, we're under a lot of pressure. We're like, yeah, este man no sabe esto, pero you have to teach him esto. You know, so tienes que buscar un medium ground, porque después todo se te revierte a donde ti y dices, oh, the teacher's not doing a good job. Never mind que este pelado nunca fue a la escuela. The teacher's not doing a good job. Entonces, sí, ahora yo lo entiendo. Back then, I was like, hombrecito, get some help.
Yeah, he needed help.
So, yeah, el asunto era que independientemente, sí, había momentos de que se sentía solo. Había una soledad que no te dejaba, loco. Y yo creo que en mi caso, ya con Miss Ruela y como ella era, at least I felt seen. I didn't stop feeling alone, but I felt seen. Ya de por ahí tuve lo suficiente de educación como para salir del ESL program, and then I really felt alone. Because at least in the ESL program I had Mrs. Ruella, and the small little community of students that were like me learning English. The minute that I tested out of ESL, I was like, fuck.
Alone again.
Yes. So, y yo podía ver la razón por la cual, por ejemplo, mi hermana y las amigas de mi hermana, yo sabía que ellos, they caught on. Ellos sabían que pasar el examen de ESL significaba dejar ESL. Si te quedabas con 1 o 2 puntos, you maintain 1 more year of ESL. Those people were smart enough to fail that test to continue to be ESL students all through high school.
See, but that's a fear also of, knowing what's coming down the line and being in the same situation that you are, feeling alone out
But
there.
yo no sabía eso, loco. Si yo hubiera sabido eso, yo también, I would have beat the system. I would have used that también. Pero no sabía yo. Y estaba esa María que tenía que hacer todo bien y Miss Ruela nos decía, it was like, you're so smart, you can do this, ya van a hacer esto y esto, van a salir. I'm telling you, I would have bent over backwards for Mrs. Ruela. So I said, Miss Ruela thinks I'm smart. I'm going to show her I'm smart. ¡Pum! Salgo del ESL. Puta madre. No, pues así. Yeah, completely alone again. Pero ya eso fue ya para 8th grade. O sea, yo vine en 5º grado, hice 5º, 6º. Para 7º grado yo ya no necesitaba ESL. Yo me iba a meter en la clase de Miss Ruela en mi tiempo libre, así para estar mataperreando, porque no quería estar con el resto de general education students, porque no encajaba, loco.
So, do you think that you said for 8th grade you got out of ESL, right?
That was the only way that I can get into arts high school, which was one of the main things that Miss Ruella kept pushing. You see how you were told, stop drawing, stop drawing, stop drawing? Miss Ruella saw my drawings and she was like, oh my God, you draw so good, you can get into arts high school. But in order for you to get into arts high school, you have to prove that you no longer need ESL because arts high school doesn't provide ESL.
So I think for you, it was a different experience. Like we had talked about on one of our episodes about different ages come to different generations of immigrants. So you had been like 1.5, and I don't know. I forgot where I
You're
I fit in.
1.5 by definition, but you said that you resonate more with the 1.75.
Right. So I'm seeing how your experiences kind of like made you feel alone. Like, okay, you had to test out of ESL to get into high school, and then you had this experience where, okay, now I need to get into high school and get good grades, but you weren't really focusing on friends much. Like for me, it was different because, yeah, I got out of ESL, but then I went into middle school. And then I think middle school is kind of shaped me a little bit more. I kind of remember a little things a little bit more. Like, I think that I crossed a gap where it was like, okay, now I can have friends that are not just first generation immigrants. I could have friends with other kids that have been here already, but not so much you. Like I remember making friends with the Portuguese kids, and not so much like a close knit relationship with them, but like start getting like different interests as them. I remember like I wasn't really into like the whole music scene, but like me crossing the gap into middle school, like listening to Nirvana or different things like that. And I don't know if you really got into that until like a little bit later.
I don't think I ever got into it. I think I was just my own little island of such, because I don't remember having heard. Yo tenía una amiga, entre comillas, en middle school, que también era ecuatoriana, que vivía en el mismo building que nosotros, eventualmente que nos mudamos, vivía ahí con nosotros. Pero en el momento que nosotros aplicamos a la high school, ella se fue a la neighborhood high school y yo me fui a Arts High. Ahora, cuando nosotros estamos aplicando para high schools en Newark, o sea, si tú tenías algo que te hacía, I don't want to say better, because there's a lot of people who ended up in the neighborhood high school. That maybe they just didn't know how to access these other high schools. Like Israel went to a technical high school. I went to arts high school because we were looking for other avenues. We did not want to follow the same path. I knew, I don't know about you, I don't know how you ended up in technical high school, but I knew that I wanted to do something different. I remember hearing stories about East Side High School being the place where you got beat up.
Oh, it was. It was a different time back then.
You know, like, and I was like, skinny ass Maria is going to get beat up every day. I'm not trying to go there. Let me find another avenue. And again, Miss Israel was instrumental in saying to me, you can do something better at arts high school. You have something, go to arts high school.
You got potential, kid.
Y ella me ayudaba. Ella me ayudaba a hacer cualquier pendejada. O sea, esta es la aplicación, llena aquí. Oh, te voy a llamar a la cafetería, van a hacer el examen. Oh, whatever. Ella estaba encima mío. Ella era la que estaba encima mío. Y yo creo que si hubiera sido porque mandaban cartas a la casa y que los papás tenían que firmar, we would have never been able to do that. Miss Ruella was on top of me to make sure that I got that opportunity. And then when I had to go take the test at the actual arts high school, ahí sí era como, mami, papi, ¿saben qué? Voy a hacer esto, esto y esto. Llévenme. Entonces ya me llevaron, ya pasé el examen. Óyeme, yo después que entré a la high school, yo veía el trabajo de otros estudiantes de art. Y decía, ¿cómo huevo me metí yo acá? These people are truly talented. Y yo estoy aquí con un dibujito de Tweety Bird, así como todo torcido. I'm like, I'm a go on the I have potential type of situation. Because, I don't know, comparado. Y ese es el gran error que todavía tengo hasta ahora, ¿no? Que esa comparación constante de, chuta, pero el dibujo de este man está mejor. Chuta, pero óigame, si tenemos algo los ecuatorianos es la labia. Entonces dije, no, por aquí metí la cabeza, por aquí tengo que sacar el cuerpo. Y me tuve que hacer al hecho pecho porque ya estaba.
Yeah, I think for me it was not much more of interest to go to like a better high school. It was more of I don't want to be left behind type of situation. Like all my friends are applying for different high schools, and I don't want to make this step by myself into East High by myself. Like I would have been perfectly content if I went to East Side.
If your all my friends were there.
Yeah, that was me. I've always been the type of person that's been like, what's the word that I want to use? Kind of like in the shadows almost. Like I don't like to stand out so much. Like I'll play it by ear and just go with everything else. But like we had spoken in other episodes how you felt like being my sister kind of took her own little guide or process by herself. We were the only two kids left in the house, and you were forced to be like the firstborn pretty much, where you had to be perfect. Well, for me, it was like, okay, your sister is guiding the path, and she's doing all of this, and you have to match what she does, because she's pretty much the cookie cutter perfect version of what you should be. So when it was the time to apply to high schools, I applied to Arts High too, and I had no intention of going to Arts High because I didn't know how to play an instrument. I didn't know how to draw. I didn't even know how to act. But I had to do something to get in there, so I'm like, yeah. Surprisingly, I got in. But it's just one of those situations where I guess fate didn't want me to be in that high school, which I guess it's for the best, things.
You got accepted to Arts High School?
Yeah.
I am just learning about this shit now?
You told me I did. Or you were just making me feel better. You were telling me how the teachers had been asking you, like, oh, is this your brother?
Oh, yeah.
So the thing was that I made it in there. I don't know how. So I had to do some monologue.
Yes, you made it for the TV, because back then there was a como un TV major. So you could go and do, like, be behind the scenes and produce stuff. Like, that's the...
So, other words, you could have been a carny. So anyway, I had made it in for that aspect of the whole high school. But the thing with that is like, okay, we accept you, but you have to come in for orientation during the summer. During that summer, our parents had sent us to Ecuador. So when I came back, I didn't know diddly squat about what was going on. So I was like, well, I guess I didn't get in. So what's the best thing what's the other best option? So I looked through the mail and they were like, oh, you got accepted. I guess I'll go here then. So that's how I ended up in my technical school. And that's where I had a lot of exposure to different people, which kind of like shaped who I am now.
Pero tú tenías full amigos ecuatorianos ahí en la high school, yo me acuerdo.
I did, but it wasn't the same thing. I guess, growing up, it's like, okay, you get a generation 1.0. They're set on going to school, getting good grades, having a career. There's the 1.5s that are, a little bit more laid back. And I think I went with the 1.5s because we were really laid back.
No, you were the 1.75, por favor.
Yeah.
I never cut class. Well, no, yo sí cortaba clases. Sí cortaba clases. Yo, ¿para qué voy a mentir? Sí cortaba clases. Pero I was such a dork que, óyeme, yo cortaba clases to go hang out with my sister and my nephew. Yeah, a mí me encantaba ir a estar chilling con mi nephew que, he's in his mid-20s right now, pero ese para mí que era cortar clases, o sea, no era que vamos a cortar clases, vámonos a una fiesta. No, era así como, vámonos a cortar clases y ir a ver tele con el guagua.
So you guys have this experience of, finding your footing in school, but what do you think it's like for adults that come to this country that don't have that? Have you ever talked to your parents about how they felt?
Not really.
They were just trying to get that bread, yo. No. It was like, feeling alone? ¿Cómo que feeling alone? ¿Cómo que, it's like, I think their experience is just different. Because
I think it's like taboo for them to talk about it?
I
your
think
dad mostly, because I'm pretty sure your mom is a little more...
Yo creo que mi papá no tanto sentirse solo, porque mi papá, acuérdate que vino y estaba surrounded by all his family. Hermanos, hermanas, todos estaban acá. La que vino dejando todo fue mi mamá. O sea, bueno, en ese sentido mi mamá y mi papá vinieron dejando trabajo de profesores donde estaban bien establecidos, como dice Israel. O sea, no era que qué bruto, qué bien que vivían en Ecuador, ¿no? Pero vivíamos en una comunidad en la que una cosa que tenían mis papás y que ahora volvieron a tener, gracias a Dios, porque se regresaron a vivir para allá, es el respeto de la comunidad que estaba alrededor de ellos. Era bueno, yo me acuerdo, todavía estaba pequeña y era, buenos días, profesor. Buenos días, profe. Buenas tardes, señorita. Porque allá en Ecuador es señorita, ¿no? Señorita Cecilia o el profe Osvaldo, it's like, siempre había ese respeto.
But you've never talked to your dad about like how he felt having to come here and like working as a cab driver, working in a factory, like how that affected his, I don't want to say ego because your dad doesn't really have much of an ego, but how it affected how he perceived himself. Like he comes to the land of opportunity, but it's like taking 2 steps back and kind of being stuck there and not being at the same like level he was over there.
I think it must have been hard for him, yeah. But, it was all about survival.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's not survival propio. It's survival of his family. It's, I'm the provider. I need to make sure that my shit is straight so that my family is straight. Y mi papá llegó acá and within a few months, él estaba en la escuela. ¿Cachas que nosotros vivíamos en Newark? Ese man manejaba hasta...
I think he went to Patterson.
I want to say Patterson. Se iba hasta Patterson porque era una de las pocas escuelas de inglés que había. Right? So él salía de trabajar sus 12 hours y se iba, manejaba media hora, 45 minutos, whatever, y se iba a estudiar 2 horas, ¿no? Y venía con los cuadernitos. Y ese era otro push también para nosotros porque decíamos, mierda, ¿cómo trabaja este tipo? O sea, y viene con sus cuadernitos del verbo to be, y I am, you are, he is, you are, like todo eso, y se ponía a repetir, y se ponía a tratar de practicar con nosotros. O sea, eso para nosotros era como, wow, like, este man está no deja de aprender, no deja de hacer las cosas, y nosotros también cómo vamos a ponernos aquí a ser lazy. O sea, tenemos que también empujar para adelante porque no tenemos de otra.
So you kind of set like the example for you guys to... No, it's because like I've always been curious, and the only person I've ever talked to about this was with Ñaño Eduardo, because like I spent the most time with him out of any of our uncles. So I would ask him like, how he felt when he came, and so he out of all of our uncles, I think he's the only one that really kind of ignores the machismo, like side of being able to express yourself. Because I've tried talking to my dad, and he always like kind of cloaks himself behind, oh, que eso no se habla, you know, whatever. So you can't get like his true feelings out. So that's why, like, I don't know if you guys ever had that conversation with your dad where were you scared, like, you know, what was going through your head during that time?
Yo pienso que mi papá ha sido muy en el aspecto de que, de esto no se habla antes, ¿no? Ahora que ya es una persona mayor que tiene sus nietos, se ha abierto un poquito más. Pero you have to like dig. No, he's not going to be openly like, oh, ¿sabes cuándo?
Yeah, I don't think it's easy to get like that type of information from somebody that's been in a struggle. Even myself, you know, I could relate to him and dealing with the struggles because, you know, being a man, you know, you're under a lot of responsibilities, a lot of struggles. Like you got to be the head of the household, and you have to be the provider. You have to be everything for your family. And I could see the struggles that my father has gone through. And it's not easy to open up to anybody and be like, you know what? Yeah, I had a really tough time, and yeah, you know, I didn't have food to give you guys, and I had spoken to my sister about this, and it's like, my parents did the best that they could with what they had. And that had caused us some trauma because we came and when we were in Ecuador, it's not like we were like well off where we had like money to spend and all this stuff, because we didn't. But we had the basic necessities, and basic necessities when we came over here wasn't so basic. So it was a struggle for everybody, not just my parents, you know. Like I understand like where they came from.
Este verano que yo estaba en el Ecuador, estábamos viajando por diferentes lugares a los cuales mi papá tenía que manejar, ¿no? Entonces él manejaba y si conocen Ecuador, chévere, ustedes saben que hay que manejar y son largas distancias, y para ir de un lugar a otro te demoras 2 horas, 3 horas, dependiendo a dónde tú quieras ir. Entonces mi papi estaba manejando for long distances, y entonces yo le preguntaba, ¿no? Así como para que no se vaya durmiendo. Así, papi, ¿y qué estudiabas tú? ¿Y qué hacías tú? Entonces, él al sacar eso, era pero porque estábamos así como haciendo un hueco con cuchara, así de, wow. Pero mucho nos basamos o me basé yo en las conversaciones en su vida before coming to the United States. No, yo no sé por qué. O sea, maybe porque estábamos en el Ecuador, le preguntaba cosas del Ecuador y su vida antes del Ecuador, o sea, antes de irnos a Estados Unidos, de su vida antes de tener hijos, de cómo hacían el college y ese tipo de cosas. My dad is readily available to share that information, but we gotta dig. Y yo pienso que en algún momento dado, y es una buena cosa que you bring up, porque deberíamos nosotros, ahora que mi papá está bien, que está con nosotros, preguntarle, ¿no? Ese tipo de cosas. Mi mamá, yo asumo y vuelvo, a asumir que también habrá tenido un hard time, más porque ella venía dejando a su mamá, a sus hermanos, su trabajo, su comodidad, y vino a trabajar, y los dos, mi mamá y mi papá, han sido una persona de trabajo duro, siempre, 100%, o sea, en ese sentido ellos nos han enseñado el valor del trabajo y la necesidad del trabajo, ¿no? Pero, o sea, sí, han de haber tenido que pasar también sus momentos de sentirse solos y eso, pero es diferente, porque como un adulto tú te puedes sentir solo, ahora ponte, yo me puedo decir, yo me cambié de trabajo reciencito y I feel like shit porque yo no conozco a nadie. Yo dejé todo después de 15 años y donde era para mí muy fácil entrar, salir, decir cualquier cosa, cualquier huevada y todos me conocen y punto, ¿no? Entonces uno como adulto también se puede sentir solo, pero te sacudes y dices, to hell with this, you know, tengo que irme a trabajar porque tengo que irme a trabajar porque
I need a job.
tengo que pagar los bills. Bills don't care that you feel lonely, man. Yeah,
Yeah, but that's another thing. Like just with the semantics, alone versus lonely. Like, what do you feel? Because you could be surrounded by people.
And we are surrounded by people. I think that I speak for myself. I don't know about you, but there are many times where I am surrounded by people in settings where there's people of all different nationalities, in settings where there's people of different generations, and I still manage to feel alone. Like I am not fitting in this particular scenario. And I have to make myself to feel included. Or to include myself, rather. Because people can be very welcoming, very like, ay, ven, Cristina, haz esto, haz. But at the end of the day, if I don't feel it, it's very hard. And I think that all of these years of feeling lonely and feeling alone have made me into a very lonely adult. And I have to force myself to involve in a group of people around me so that I'm just like, I'm not an idiot. I can socialize. You know, like, come on. But it is a constant job that I give myself so that I can include myself, so that my kids can also learn que no tienes que ser un estúpido ahí en la esquina sin hacer nada, ¿me entiendes? Que tienes que ser una persona sociable. Pero los años y años y años de no ser una persona sociable took a toll in me. And I speak for me. I don't know about you.
I think I could relate to that. Like growing up an immigrant, you kind of have that thing where you're like, oh, I don't fit in. And it's obviously hard, you know? You don't have somebody to relate to. And then, you know, time passes by. You go through the high school. You make some friends. You get out of high school, you lose those friends.
Yeah.
And then you're a grown up, and then you're like, you forget how to make friends.
Oh, God, yes.
So it's like you grow up to be antisocial, and it gets to a point where you're like, you have a revelation. You're like, oh, shit, like, I'm alone now.
Yes.
And being alone, it's not a bad thing, but it is. Like, being alone, you get to have, like, peace of mind. You don't have to deal about nobody's drama. But at the end of the day, you look around, and you're alone.
Like, me tengo que mudar. ¿Quién me ayuda a mover este mueble?
Word. You're going to be the only one dragging that couch up the stairs.
Pivot!
So that's the thing that sucks about getting older. You forget how to make friends. You forget about going into certain places and like how do you introduce yourself?
Yes, I would like anybody to tell me, how do you make friends as adults? Because that shit is difficult.
Yeah, I've actually told my wife this. Like, I'm tired of being alone. Like, yeah, I could have my family around. I could have my wife around. I could have my kids around. But at the end of the day, like, we really don't have something in common that unites us, you know? Yes, we get along and everything else, but it's like, what do we really have in common, you know? Like,
because you make friends, not because you guys have general interests. It's most because you spend the majority of your time with them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being at school. The friends that you had in school weren't necessarily friends. You guys were friends because you guys just saw each other every day. That's how I see people at work. Like, I don't have friends at work. They're acquaintances who just happen to be at the same place that I am for 8 hours a day, and we just talking bullshit. But a lot of the times when you leave a job, you lose connection with those friends because now you have nothing in common besides that job.
True.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to make friends now that you're older, you know? Like, how do you go up to a certain group? You're like, hey, so how about them Yankees?
That's why I like that movie, I Love You, Man. Have you guys seen that?
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen
it's
it.
like how they became friends, like, because of, like, a random, open house?
Yeah.
And then they just figure that they have, like, that's how, you know, Like, I don't know. Like, the majority of my friends are people that I met in passing.
Yeah, ¿sabes una de las cosas que hace añísimos Israel tenía un amigo o un conocido, no, I don't want to say coworker, pero alguien que fue a la high school con él, que se llama Richie, ¿no? Eventualmente Richie trabajó con nosotros y chévere man, o sea, este manteco es the business, o sea, yo me siento a conversar con él y es un cague de risa. Pero yo le conocí a Richard por medio de Israel. Sí, él iba a la high school con Richard. Y Richard es una persona con la cual yo puedo decir, oh sí, él es mi amigo. Así de que diga que bruto, que amigos somos, que I was invited to the baby shower, no. Pero yo sé que si es que yo le escribo a él o si yo le llamo a él, he's bound to like, yeah, hook me up. Él se va al Ecuador, viene agarrado dulces, chicles, caramelos, chupetes y les da mis guaguas. O sea, who does that? Like years after, you know, que ya ni nos vemos ni tenemos nada en común y él me dice, oh María, llegué del Ecuador. Que él me conoce como María, ¿no? O sea, oh María, llegué del Ecuador. Dice, tengo unas golosinitas para los guaguas. Dice, ¿puedo pasar? Claro, vente. Si tienes golosinas, vente de una. O sea, pero esa es como tú dices, o sea, son personas que te las encuentras así en passing. Y hay personas con las cuales yo fui a la high school por 4 años, que we share clases, que hacíamos cualquier huevada. Y no considero que esas personas son parte de mi vida anymore, porque ya cada quien agarra su camino y hace lo que tiene que hacer y ¡puf!
You think that's a generational thing or a cultural thing? Because I feel like adults in Ecuador, or even people our age in Ecuador, are able to maintain friends.
Yes.
But but they're my generation. But then, like, flip the switch to this side of the world, I can't tell if it's a generational thing or if it's a cultural thing. Because we're so focused on just working.
That's the thing that you just mentioned it. We're just focused in working. Like over there, it's different because you have all these things that you could relate to. You have all the holidays. You have like for the weekends. I don't know. It like blows my mind. But guys get together and they just drink themselves silly, or they go and play football. And
volleyball.
Over here, it's just different. Like everybody's focused on working.
Óyeme, el asunto es que en el Ecuador por lo general, y estamos hablando del Ecuador, yo imagino que esto se puede transferir a Perú, a México, a los many different países que quizás nos están escuchando, ¿no? Pero en el Ecuador todos mantienen el mismo horario, no todos. Digamos que un 80% de las personas trabajan un 9 to 5, un 8 to 4, algo así, ¿me entiendes? O sea, todos llegan a un momento de la tarde donde they're free. En cambio aquí, si yo no me veo con mi hermano, es porque yo trabajo un horario, él trabaja un horario, you know, like, los días libres de él son entre semana, mis días libres son el fin de semana, vivimos cerca, pero, you know, si nos vemos, chévere, oh, bacán, topetines y pum, cada quien hace lo suyo, y nosotros somos familia, nosotros vivimos cerca, y we have to make a conscious effort to actually be in each other's space.
Yeah, that's crazy how she just mentioned that, like, yeah, we're family. We're supposed to be close. Yeah, we live close. We're supposed to have this close-knit relationship, but because of work, like, I don't get to see her. She works in the morning. I work in the afternoon. She works, you know, she has the days off in the weekend. I have them in between the week. So it's like...
So imagine if that's like that with family, how is it going to be with friends?
Exactly.
So that's why it's hard. I think that's why it's hard to have friends as adults here.
Exactly. Like sometimes I see like different groups of friends that they were like, all right, we're going to be doing this on the weekend. And I envy that because I'm like, I've never had that.
Same.
I've never had that.
Y es diferente porque en el Ecuador, o sea, y eso es una de las cosas que yo envidiaba. Yo creo que hasta ahora yo envidio del Ecuador, es que y cuando yo quería irme a la high school so bad, cuando yo estaba en la high school yo quería irme a estudiar en el Ecuador, porque hasta ahora yo conozco a las amigas de mi mamá, son la generación del 76, ¿no? Y son un grupo de como 15 mujeres de la high school que se graduaron con mi mamá, y esas manes, estamos en el 2022, esas manes todavía se juntan, hacen sus get-togethers, se ponen hasta atrás con cualquier tontera, o sea, se toman su vinito y mantienen eso. maybe no se hablan todo el año, pero en el momento que dicen, oh, la generación de 76, pum, toditas se juntan, o sea, como hormiguitas, y pum, se llegan ahí, ¿no?
They're like Power Rangers.
Assemble.
Captain America. No,
Y-
Captain America.
Captain Planet.
Yeah, Captain Planet.
Y-
Earth.
Wind. Y ahí no, todos se juntan. Y yo decía, yo quiero eso, yo quiero un grupo de personas a las cuales yo pueda decir, o sea, these are my people, esta es mi tribu, este es con los que yo me identifico, con los cuales yo pasé esto y esto y esto y esto y esto y esto. Y bang, they're my peoples, right? I don't have that. No de la high school. Yo creo que en el trabajo que yo tuve antes de salir de mi último trabajo, yo tuve eso, ¿no? Entonces, cada quien se ha ido abriendo, ha ido dejando este trabajo por otro, igual que yo, ¿verdad? Y reunirnos con esas personas es difícil. Así, o sea, volviendo a lo que tú dices, ¿no? Nosotros estamos diciendo, vamos a reunirnos para Christmas break. Ok. Fulana de tal tiene una bebé, tiene que conseguir babysitter. Fulano de tal vive muy lejos, necesita un ride. Fulano de tal, quizás no puede porque tiene otras cosas. O sea, es difícil mantener esa relación. Y nosotros nos mantenemos de maybe friends on Facebook.
Pero when you guys meet up, what do you guys talk about? Is it about work? Because that's most of the time, that's where the conversation moves into.
Well, we're all teachers. So, yeah, we talk about, you know, al principio era, todos trabajamos en el mismo building. So, después es como, ok, este está en un distrito, este está en otro distrito. ¿Cómo se compara lo que tú haces con lo que yo hago? O cómo te está yendo en este distrito versus cómo es lo que nosotros sabíamos hacer algo.
But see what I mean?
Pero es trabajo.
The conversation just ends up being about the one thing all you
Yes,
guys
that we have in common.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why, like what Izzy said, like it's hard to find somebody that has like the general interests that you do. Because, I don't know, we're all quirky. We all like weird things. And as adults, I think our generation, I read somewhere one time that our generation, because you guys are technically millennials-ish, or Generation X?
I am Generation X, por favor.
But these generations that grew up pre-internet have a hard time finding like their footing, and they're considered like lonely generations because then they end up being like these little islands of people where they don't really, you know, like there's no connection. That's why like the Kiwani Club, all of these social clubs that were formed back in the 50s and 60s for people in the community are eventually going to be phased out. Because people aren't getting together as a community anymore. People are just so focused on themselves.
And doesn't that suck, though? Because they might be... okay, let's bring it round circle. So, en el 2000 se abrió el Centro Social Alausí. That's a social club, right? And it's based on something that people have in common, which realistically is only where they come from, right? To maintain that sort of belonging. Eventually... I would hope not, but that would be phased out as well, right? Because it has a lot of nuances.
And there's a lot of politics involved.
Yes.
But
well, there's politics in everything.
No,
right
but
now.
tell me, but are you a member of that social club? Or would you ever consider becoming a member?
I was a member of that social club, and I got out of it when I got married.
See, but I don't think someone like Izzy would be a part of that.
No. I'm the black sheep. I really don't have the need to join a social club that I don't really see myself in.
And I saw the need for me because I wanted to belong. Like I felt so lonely that at least being part of that social club made me feel like I belong. Therefore, for me, it was important.
But belong to what, though?
Belong to a group of people, fool.
A group of people that don't care about you, that will talk shit about you?
Yes.
I'd rather be by my lonesome.
And I think that's another reason why people also gravitate towards churches and, you know.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Okay? That's my social club now. Like, and I, you know, that's where I stand right now. But yeah, I belong to el Centro Social Alausí por una temporada. Porque era necesario para mí. O sea, en ese punto de mi edad, de mi juventud, quizás el sentirme que soy parte de algo. O sea, why do people join gangs? Because they want to feel like they belong somewhere. Where they're going to beat you up? Yeah.
Yeah, but where does that sense of belonging come from? Is it just like this, like all these years of feeling lonely because you're in a new country, you're in a new community, you don't have like a group of friends in school? All of a sudden you have like this yearning to belong to something. Do you kind of just like gravitate towards that?
I gravitated towards it because my parents were there y porque, you know, mi prima que en paz descanse vivía todavía en la UCI y de alguna manera el ser parte del centro social me daba la false hope de que I was sharing something with her. You know, yo podía decir, oh, sí, yo bailé esa misma música, yo estaba haciendo la misma cosa. O cuando viajaba al Ecuador podía decir, oh, sí, esta gente está así asado, cocinado y frito. Y maybe como dice el Israel, o sea, people that talk shit about you, it's like, yeah, eventually you do the same thing. You talk about shit about people. Sure. Eventualmente, cuando yo conocí a mi actual esposo, eso cambió porque all of a sudden I felt not lonely anymore. I no longer felt alone. Yo tenía, y ahí viene el otro episodio, ¿no? Así de que te casas y piensas que ese es todo tu mundo, toda tu vida, tratas de llenar todos los huecos con una sola persona y es imposible, ¿no? Pero cuando yo me uní con él, ya I was like, oh, centro social, who? Like, I don't need that. Like, I'm here now. Like, I have what I need. Obviously, that leads to other problems down the line, you know, because one person cannot fill all the gaps that you have created by yourself. But, you know, another episode de lleno. Yeah, okay, so estamos quedándonos ya sin tiempo. Después venimos a otro episodio. Ay, hoy se ha hablado bastante. Solamente quiero que te des cuenta, amigo, amiga, que me estás escuchando, que no eres el único, que si te has sentido solo, que si te has sentido como una isla, pues no estás sola.
You are not alone. Just remember that I think you have 2 other people that are broadcasting the show that feel the same way as you.
So, no te sientas sola. Recuerda que estés donde estés, aquí estás en familia.
We family.
Acuérdate de like, share, subscribe. Búscanos, Estás en Familia en Facebook, Estás en Familia en TikTok y Estás en Familia en Instagram. Estamos aquí para ti.